Fala pessoal, beleza com vocês? Fernando Rodrigo aqui na área, novamente trazendo mais uma gameplay de Sherlock Holmes. E a gente, no episódio anterior, a gente foi para aquela festa maluca, né? Um negócio doido. Fomos presos, agora fomos soltos, agora temos que ajudar o policial, né? O oficial Oswald a obter ajudar no crime, né? Vamos ver se a gente ajuda ele a desvendar. Primeiro de tudo, acho que eu vou tirar essa roupa. Você não pode trocar de roupa aqui. Essa roupa aqui é zoada. Onde? Vamos ver o que essas mulheres estão falando. Desculpa a circunstância do incidente da empresa de Copelo. Escândalo de imprensa, não. Debaixo do meu colchão, também não. Morto no cofre. Vingança? Beleza. Empresa compela amor. Esposa devastada. Vingança não é. Morto no cofre. Debaixo do meu colchão não é. Escândalo de imprensa. Vingança? Não. Morto no cofre, esposa devastada, alega inocência, empresa de Copelo. Beleza. Minha curiosidade se aguçou ao saber que Basílio Copelo, dono da empresa de segurança Armor Copelo, foi preso. A situação dele é peculiar. Um homem foi encontrado morto dentro de um cofre na loja de Basílio, que alega ser inocente, mas as provas estão contra ele. Ele está preso em uma das celas do departamento de polícia.
Let's pretend to be cops, eh? We can just stand around and look confused.
Beleza. Ah, até que enfim a gente vai tirar essa roupa. Sobretudo é da hora, né? Vamos ficar desse aqui. Ok, vamos dar início aqui à investigação, galera. Vamos ver. Eu, Santos Pinchetti, sou a testemunha que revela uma suspeita de assassinato na mansão de Macho em Grande Sarai. Durante os preparativos para a festa social, ouvi barulho na sala fechada do porão. E imediatamente pensei no sacrifício de um ser vivo supervisionado por ninguém menos que Kurt Mankius. Havia sangue nas paredes, símbolos estranhos e uma adaga no seu coração. Assim que consegui pensar com clareza, corri para a delegacia de polícia para relatar minhas descobertas. A estação respondeu ao depoimento enviando uma patrulha, enquanto a testemunha saiu da estação e foi para casa. Então quem chamou a polícia foi Santos, o mordomo. O autor dessa permissão tem autorização para inspecionar todas as evidências do caso. Ah, legal. Pegamos a evidência. A permissão. Após o relato de uma testemunha no ritual satânico que alegou ter encontrado um corpo, a incursão à mansão dos Mankius foi concedida. Isso resultou na prisão de vários suspeitos e na dispersão do grupo de mascarados apanhados em atos de grosseira indecência e comportamento não natural. O corpo da vítima foi encontrado sobre um altar com um ferimento de adaga no peito. Os policiais identificaram a vítima, Fábio, Intérprete, 20 anos deve ser, né? Intérprete artista local. Suspeitos presos. Virgil. Virgil tinha uma carta de caráter ofensivo que havia sido escrito pela vítima. Olha. Ele afirma ter encontrado o corpo. É famoso por sua personalidade excêntrica. Sherlock Holmes. Portava a arma do crime, uma adaga com o sangue da vítima e outras evidências. Ele foi convidado por outro suspeito, Virgil, provavelmente para obstruir a investigação oficial. Menkels, o dono da mansão e organizador da festa satânica, pagou a vítima para que participasse do ritual. Tinha acesso à cena do crime. Matista, companheira de Fábio participando do ritual, tentou escapar, resistiu à prisão. Portava um livro com a descrição ritual realizado na sala do altar. Alguns dos convidados estão detidos temporariamente para mais interrogatórios.
Back on track to solve the case. I can't go back to prison.
Esse livro a gente não mexe nele. Preciso ajudar o oficial. Ok, vamos ver se o assassino se lavou após matar Fábio. Ok. Pinchete é suspeito, então deve ser preso e interrogado. Ele tinha uma chave que não mencionou em seu depoimento. Ok. Ok. Essas salas de interrogatório são... Olha que coisa horrível, mano. Cheio de sangue nas paredes.
Do you know anything about this?
Nothing I can tell you, sir, but others might know more.
Hello, quem é essa?
I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm helping Constable Oswald. You are Matista.
Matista,
This body, yes, it's Matista. But it's a mere shell that will die someday. Just like Fabio.
Seu fim foi previsível. Condolências,
Please
né?
accept my condolences for your friend.
Thank you.
I'm just here to ask questions and find Fabio's murderer.
It will not bring Fabio back.
Machucados e ensanguentados, obtidos recentemente. Ela se auto-tatuou. Marcas de queimadura, infligido por ferro quente. Unhas mordidas, nervosismo, né? Auto-infligido, cortes antigos e sarados. Cicatrizes de grilhões, antiga e quase invisível. Matista, intérprete e companheira de Fábio, teve uma vida difícil enquanto ainda era criança. Foi marcada e escravizada enquanto escravidade ela conheceu Fábio, portanto, assemelhante em suas marcas. Antigas cicatrizes decorrem de sua escravidão na adolescência. Ela continua a ser assombrada por essas experiências. Ela tem um interesse genuíno pelo misticismo, já que tatuou seu corpo com símbolos de ocultismo. Matista tenta superar seu passado e a vida do intérprete parece ser Matista parece ser pragmática enquanto seu corpo, após anos de abuso. Ela se vende aos convidados que fazem o que querem com ela. Ela não tem medo de ultrapassar os limites. Além disso, Matista marca seu corpo com tinta. E agora? Põe a si mesmo pelo passado. Esqueci aqui, mano. Deixa eu ver só se tá gravando aqui, galera. Ah, tá gravando.
You have both old and new scars. Some from the time when you were a slave with Fabio. Other scars have a different origin. The guests pay good money to torment you?
I am skilled in giving pleasure, but I don't participate in such practices.
I thought your body was...
For sale? It's true. Many unwanted things were done to my body. And the pain helped me to discover...
Occult deities? Yes, the tattoo speaks loudly of it.
Yes. Your gods abandoned me, and the ones I favor now are more protective of me.
How did you escape?
Something happened. One night the master fell down the stairs. I made him fall, and he died. We ran away that day. We managed to get on a ship and traveled here, to Gordona. Fabio and I started a new life here. It was very hard at first, but it became better with time. Until today.
Onde, né? Onde conseguiu esses
The
machucados?
bruises on your neck are not self-inflicted. Someone else made them.
Some guests can't contain themselves. They even bite, sometimes.
Que horror. Durante a briga no salão de fumantes, Fábio machucou Matista. Caraca. Fábio machucou Matista. Durante a briga no salão de fumantes, Fábio machucou Matista. Matista foi ferida pelos convidados. Matista foi ferida no corpo Matista foi ferida no corpo todo por interações brutais com os convidados durante a festa. Fábio foi assassinado em um ritual. Fábio foi sacrificado em um altar durante o ritual do ocultismo. O ritual foi concedido como uma forma de encobrir. Mas faz mais sentido. Bem, vamos interrogar mais gente, né? E aí, mano?
Good day, Mr. Manchios. I am
Esse é o
Constable
Manchios.
Partner in this investigation.
Be quick and gentle. Some of your colleagues are untrained bores. Although I don't mind meeting young officers, the new blood here.
If you cooperate in finding Fabio's murderer, there will be no need to meet with the Boers again.
That voice. Werner's friend? You're the policeman. What a disappointment.
Only an undercover agent can scour a ditch full of deviants. I am a consulting detective, although I'm capable of replacing the entire department through my consultations.
Sharp-tongued, I like it. May I presume this tongue will get us out of this trouble? I would be so indebted and glad to repay you.
Nothing's changed. I'm looking for the murderer. That's the only way to get us out of trouble.
But it shouldn't take much time, correct? We're all busy after all.
I need to examine you first.
Tarado, louco, maníaco. Pronto. Usa maquiagem. Eita lasqueira. Lavou as mãos apressadamente. Extremamente caro. Couro polido de qualidade. Orelha cheia de cera. Espinhas caudadas por tintura. Espinhas? Kurt é extremamente rico, excêntrico e frívolo. Ele é o organizador das festas da elite de Codona e proprietário da mansão Manchios. Ele passa a vida na companhia de pessoas igualmente privilegiadas. No entanto, o fato de ser sociável o tornou cauteloso em relação à sua saúde. Ele usa produtos químicos e tintura no cabelo para se cuidar e se limpar a ponto de danificar a pele. No entanto, deseja esconder sua verdadeira idade dos participantes mais jovens de suas festas. Ele se preocupa com o envelhecimento a ponto de usar maquiagem e tintura no cabelo para parecer mais jovem. Eu acho que esconde a idade, né?
You are a little over the top with your use of makeup, Mr. Manchios. Is it so difficult for you to acknowledge your age?
Well, Sherlock, that's easy for you to say to an old man when you look as though you are barely 15.
But still, it shouldn't be an issue for someone of your status.
For people of my age, it isn't an issue, no. But the younger ones can be so afraid of wrinkles and grey flecks. I have to adapt.
Such a methodical man who cares for his body but misses the soap under his fingernails. Are you so impatient, or perhaps even impulsive?
I wouldn't call myself that. Silly little details. If I missed it, it wasn't important. Or rather, it was less important than who or what I was focused on.
Quero saber mais sobre o evento.
Mr. Vogel told me a little about your parties, but I would like to know more directly from you.
I'm all yours, Sherlock. You have me arrested and locked here, with you alone.
Mano, dá vontade de dar uma porrada nesse cara. Por que convidou Virgil?
Why did you invite Mr. Vogel as your special guest?
He's a
Virgil.
pretty fellow. He's capable of surprising the public. He has a talent for saying words that no one else would wish to either say or hear.
I suppose I can't argue with that.
He is a free addition to the eccentricity of the party, which is fine by me, as long as it enhances my party.
Quem você
I'd like to
convida?
know who you usually invite to your parties.
Free minds who are able to leave reality for an evening, who can taste forbidden fruit without prejudice. There is nothing that quite spices up life like these parties, assuming one is old enough and has worked many years for the good of one's country.
Oh, all true labourers, I see.
Como o Fábio era?
What was Fabio like? His personality, his habits? Anything you can tell me?
He was the brightest star of my parties. Young, magnetic, and full of energy. I don't even want to mention his beauty. Otherwise, I'll be sobbing.
An expensive champion, I imagine.
His performances were flawless. He deserved his payment. Do you think he was murdered because of money?
Possibly. What about the other guests? Were they used to opening their wallets as well?
I wouldn't restrict my guests from anything. I'm sure Fabio received a few coins from others for his services. I've no idea about that. I've no idea about that. I've no idea about that. That's not something I know much about. I've no idea about that. You'd better ask someone else. That's not something I know much about. I've no idea about that. That's not something I know much about.
Do you have any idea who tipped off the police to raid your mansion, Mr. Manchios?
Of course. It was you. I could even say you Sherlocked me in here.
A good guess, but the wrong one. The fellow who did that was Mr. Pinchetti, your major domo.
What? Santos? But how could he even know? If he's not the murderer himself. The ungrateful swine. He has dared to besmirch my reputation.
Not a very eloquent choice of words.
What should I call him then, since he's a snitch? Make him talk, Sherlock. I'm quite certain he knows more about the murder than he has told the police. I've no idea about that. You'd better ask someone else.
You bought an expensive pair of cufflinks for Fabio. Were they his price? Or were they a tip for an exclusive show?
It was pure business. Fabio escorted me a few times. I was merely showing my gratitude.
This pair cost a small fortune. You must be extremely grateful then. Tell me more.
You've thrust a knife in an exposed nerve, Sherlock. Yes, he was my protege and my beacon also. With my experience and his beauty, we could have achieved anything. I had faith in him. I would have made him.
Tá, vamos lá. Mentiu se lavou após o assassinato. Kurt limpou-se do sangue após o assassinato de Fábio. Oxe, mas já concluiu já. Max premeditou seus atos. Kurt Mankill se preparou cuidadosamente para seus atos depravados. Kurt Mankill limpou-se do sangue após o assassinato de Fábio. Ok.
Werner, are you all right?
Oh, yes, yes. Everything's fine. In fact, it's something of a family reunion. My brother spent quite some time in this place himself.
You should not be here. I told the police everything I knew, but they refused to let you go. They require proof to free you.
Ha! What did you expect? The mighty Sherlock Holmes swans in, tells the officers what to think, and the world obeys?
Of course not. Anyway, I struck a deal with the constable, and I've got a free hand in the investigation. I find proof to solve the case for him. He obtains files about my mother's death for me.
Well done. If one has the power or will and can act, then one must. I wonder, suppose you couldn't get the proof to your truth. Would you tell a lie to the guard that enabled my freedom, knowing my innocence? Would that not be just?
Eu mentiria por você, eu não mentiria por você, meu
There are
filho.
lines I will not cross, Werner. I will do my best to secure your release, but with proof, not deception.
Really? How many white lies have you told on this island? Why not for me? Why not another?
That is absurd. I can resolve this without compromises. Do not give up hope.
Vamos lá.
I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I can't follow you here. I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I can't follow you here. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this.
Caramba, você não pode falar nada, mano.
Anything about this. I can't follow you here.
I have learned who told the police about the crime. It was Santos Pinchetti,
Do I know him?
the major domo of the manor. He cleans up after you.
Well, then he does his job perfectly. All but invisible. I couldn't tell you the first thing about him.
Ok, vamos lá. Ah, ele não forneceu nada. Eu preciso trazer o Modormo aqui. Como eu vou fazer isso?
You'd better ask me a question I know how to answer. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. You'd better ask me a question I know how to answer. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this.
Have you considered Mr. Santos Pinchetti as a suspect?
The snitch? Have you seen him? I mean, my breath could knock him down. What's so special about him?
As a major domo, he has keys that open all the rooms, including the one to the crime scene. Could have testified only to circumvent suspicion, don't you think? We need to question him.
Right. I'll send our men to fetch him. Stay
Wait
here.
here. Ah, stay here. Fique aqui.
They brought him in, Mr. Holmes. Here's the key to interrogation room number 7. Mr. Pinchetti didn't even resist, our men said.
Thank you.
You can question Mr. Pinchetti in the interrogation room.
you know anything about this?
I can't help you with that, sir.
Os caras saíram de uma cena de crime e tá dando risada, velho.
This area is restricted.
Cadê o carinha? Sala 3, sala 4, 5, 6, 7.
Mr. Pinchetti, a pleasure to meet you. I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm helping Constable Oswald.
I've already told him everything I know. I'm only a witness, sir. Everything's in my report.
And I've read it. You forgot to mention that you hold the keys to the room where Fabio was found. I need only to find if the crime was intentional.
But I need to return to my duties.
I doubt the house will fall without you, Mr. Pinchetti. Just be still for a few seconds.
Vamos observar o Leo. Parece o cara, o vizinho aqui, mano, igualzinho. A pele inflamada, psoriase ou alergia. Consertado várias vezes, buracos costurados. Tingida mais de uma vez. Pisou em sangue. Santos Pinchetti é o chefe da criadagem da mansão de Makers. Apesar de estar empregado na posição mais elevada da família, ele parece ser pobre. Embora tenha dinheiro suficiente, Pinchetti gasta o mínimo possível e esconde as imperfeições de seu corpo com maquiagem barata. Na tentativa de parecer mais moderno, Pinchetti atingiu seu terno em várias ocasiões para economizar ainda mais dinheiro. O moderno parece ter remendado pessoalmente vários buracos com seu uniforme. Seu corpo apresenta sintomas de psoriase, eu não sei o que é isso. Esconde sua pele danificada sob camadas de maquiagem. O traje do moderno tinha vários buracos que haviam sido remendados ou costurados. Para renovar o visual, tem problemas financeiros. Acho que tem problemas financeiros, né, mano? A cara do cara.
You are the majordomo of a rich mansion, and you seem barely able to afford decent clothing. You hide, under heavy makeup, a skin disease that might be treated with more onerous but less harmful means. Do you have money troubles?
I do not have a lot of means. The pay is below what you might expect.
But you could easily change your job if your employer does not meet your elementary needs.
One can change his employer, that is true.
And the blood on your shoe, where does that come from?
I don't actually know. Perhaps from a guest?
Você conhecia a vítima?
Not personally. He was a frequent guest, and cleaning the mess after his performances was tedious. Mr. Manchios always had a role for him, and mainly the leading one. The parties were always Fabio-centric.
And Matista? Was she as popular as her partner?
Don't tell her I said this, but I do not think so. Mr. Manchios hired her only because Fabio refused to work without her. Mr. Manchios used to see her as a worker. She was tasked with entertaining the guests, unlike Fabio, who could pick and choose.
I recognize the key from the altar room among these.
Um pequeno bilhete anexado ao testamento diz: Santos, minha esperançosa lesma. Você me implorou para incluí-lo em meu testamento, então eu fiz. Aqui está minha última revisão do testamento. Kurt, o texto do testamento abaixo do bilhete. Santos Piquet, o mordomo da mansão meu, recebe um pote de cera para bigode e uma lamparina de sal, para que possa sempre se lembrar de seu atencioso empregado. Ô louco, que testamento! Um pote de cera para o bigode, velho. O mordomo não viu a mancha de sangue. Santos Menor deixou de notar uma mancha de sangue em seu sapato enquanto se limpava após o assassinato. Não acredito que foi ele, não. Santos deixou de notar uma mancha de sangue em seu sapato enquanto se limpava após o assassinato. Santos pode ter pisado no sangue quando descobriu a cena. Eu acho que é mais ou menos isso.
Mr. Manchios says that you begged him to be included in the heritage. Isn't that a little extreme, even for a majordomo?
He's not only my employer, he's my uncle. And I'm his next of kin. The only one. Mr. Manchios flatly refuses to pay a family member. All I have to do is repay his so-called love. Cleaning up the filth after perverts and decadents. He's imprisoned me. The best I can hope for is a new broom. That's why I wanted to have my part of the inheritance.
Is it that bad? You have a roof above your head, a salary, and the status of a majordomo.
For God's sake. I'm forced to dye and stitch my threadbare clothes, and the holes in my shoes are painful. I'm ashamed every time a guest looks at me closely.
Why do you think your uncle treats you this way?
My mother, my uncle's sister, had me illegitimately. She died, and I was given the surname of one of the maids.
But you are entitled to some of the money that belongs to your family.
He thinks not. I was not responsible for my mother's death. I work hard, and he pays me nothing. I feed on the leftovers. While he wastes our estate's property on decadent parties, he paid Fabio handsomely and showered him with expensive gifts for their disgusting relationship.
Que nojo. Os esforços de Pinchette foram em vão. Pinchette foi forçado a trabalhar para Kurt Mankius em uma esperança de ter herança, mas isso não aconteceu.
Please let me out.
Bem, vamos conversar com ele lá sobre isso, né, mano? Falou, tiozão, você tá errado, mano.
I've no idea about that.
I've read the letter about your will. A harsh method of ridiculing Santos. I doubt he will use mustache wax when he wears no mustache to begin with.
Where did you get it? Is the slug here? Tell him. I shouldn't have to provide for him. He's a grown man who shouldn't sit on his uncle's neck. He conceives himself as my only heir.
And who is he to you?
He's a leech on my aging body. He has only added problems to my life since the death of his mother.
I fail to see why you made him your majordomo.
He needed to know his place, so I taught him.
Caraca.
I know I can handle the news.
I know you can untangle this mess.
Please let me out.
E agora o que eu faço?
Good day. Your ticket, please, if you want me to help you. This is not a ticket. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. This is not a ticket. Don't waste my time.
I'd like to check the evidence from this case.
And who are you?
Oswald sent me. I'm a consulting detective.
His partner, then? Let me see. Ah, a ritual murder. What a bunch of degenerates. Wait a second, I'll bring it to the table.
Opa!
An emergency kit for boredom.
A carta que foi encontrada na caixa de evidências de Virgil. Sua mente é doente? Você não consegue controlar sua amargura? Ao menos não perto de mim. Para mim é um risco muito grande ignorar esse tipo de comportamento. Posso falar e brincar com quem eu quiser. Não sou outra matista. Você me paga, mas não me comprou. Claro, vou ficar com todas as suas generosas doações, mesmo que dificilmente compense sua última explosão. Estou deixando você, embora a Matisse ainda esteja por perto.
Not the time for privacy.
Interessante essa coisa aí, hein?
Werner's personal sketchbook. It's a miracle this ruby hasn't tempted anyone. All the keys of the mansion on one golden ring. A heavily perfumed handkerchief with the initials KM in the corner. A handcrafted charm that contains hair and nail clippings. Her key to the altar room.
O poder do amor.
That's not for bedtime reading. This ex libris belongs to Manchios Library.
A polícia encontrou esse livro de ocultismo na bolsa de Matista durante a prisão. De acordo com ex libris, o tomo havia sido retirado da coleção de Manchios. Contém ilustrações e descrições de um ritual semelhante à cena do crime. Prepare o corpo nu de um objeto de interesse recém-falecido. Desenhe símbolos de Marte e Vênus para aumentar o poder que você possui. Para usar a força da natureza masculina e feminina. Perfure seu coração com uma adaga de ouro para se livrar do sangue que não te ama. Desenhe um símbolo representando seu amor, enquanto espere a ressurreição. Aceite o feitiço.
The book describes a ritual similar to the one performed in the altar room. Thank you, officer.
Caraca. Vamos falar com ela, velho. Cadê ela?
This book, The Power of Love, Blood and Mandrake, what do you hope to achieve?
To learn more about the invisible strengths that govern us. Occultism is real. The master who fell that night when Fabio and I escaped, I made him fall. I cast a spell on him and it worked.
Or was it a coincidence?
The universe is rarely so lazy.
If you say so.
I've nothing to say.
This is the letter the police found in Mr. Vogel's pocket. Fabio wrote it. Do you know anything about it?
I don't. Although I can feel Fabio's energy. It's there, but it refuses to let me analyze it.
Do you practice occult rituals?
For protection? For fortune? To wash away the ugliness of the world? Sometimes to survive. I have the gift, and I'm learning to use it better.
Did you use your gift on Fabio?
I only used white magic. Love charms lately. Fabio became so distant. I just wanted him to be with me, but I suppose I'm not as skilled as I thought.
Ixi, mano, a mulher matou o cara, velho.
Do you recognize this book? Could Matista have borrowed it from your library?
She didn't ask me. How ungrateful.
The things described in the book were inspiration for the rituals you performed?
Do you really believe that blood, symbols, and incantations can resurrect the dead? They are just eerie tales with a mix of occultism and voodoo. My rituals are a stage to show some of the forbidden pleasures.
I've read this letter from Fabio. It had no addressee, but it was found in Mr. Vogel's pocket.
Werner? Strange. I didn't think the two of them corresponded.
I'm sure there is some explanation. Would you care to read it?
Call me superstitious, but I don't care to read a letter from a dead man.
E aí, maluco?
I'm not supposed to know anything about this.
So, the police found a letter from Fabio in your pocket?
I cannot tell if it was truly in my pocket at all. Perhaps it was placed there later.
Well, that is one hypothesis. If it were true, then how did it get there?
No clue. But this night has been rather eccentric. Such a detail could have easily eluded me.
Indeed. Do you recall reading it?
I can't remember that either. But I tend to respect privacy. Reading others' personal notes is not one of my perversities.
Caraca.
Please let me out.
A carta pode ter sido para Makes. De acordo com o Santos Pinói, ele foi o conteúdo da carta do seu destinatário foi para Kurt Makes. Também acho. Matista pode ter feito um ritual para recuperar o amor de...
There is undeniable evidence that you were the original recipient of this letter.
What are you talking about? Is it addressed to me?
Your protégé wanted a fresh start, it seems. This is sufficient to charge you.
Me? Hurt my star? Are you insane that you would accuse me of such a thing?
He did not consider himself as yours. Since you deny everything, let's move on. Do you have any idea as to how the letter could have ended up in Mr. Vogel's pocket?
You were the detective. Perhaps he took it from Fabio. Werner was a little high.
Acusando o outro, cara.
I have reason to believe that the intended recipient of the incriminating letter may have been Kurt Manchios.
Well, that makes sense. Too bad I can't remember how I came to possess it. Though I did spend quite some time with Mr. Manchios during the party.
Unfortunately, even with an answer, that may still not be enough to clear you with the police. But fear not, I will persevere.
I hope your attempt to put things straight will make up for...
You being on a bender?
Touché.
Tá ok. Você não tem nada pra falar, mano?
Please let me out.
I can't wrap my head around such a tragedy. It's my party.
I don't know what to say. Oh. That could be. I never thought Mr. Manchios could make Fabio that angry, though.
What do you mean?
Well, Fabio wanted to disassociate from Mr. Manchios. Clients who are in love are both a blessing and a curse.
But Fabio was here tonight.
Money. In our line of work, we can't afford to turn down clients who pay as well as Kurt Manchios.
Was Fabio afraid of Mr. Manchios?
Not at all. The old toad wouldn't dare to do more than sweet talk and touching. Talk can be forgotten, and touching washed away.
Caraca, esse negócio tá embaçado, hein? Virgil pegou a carta enquanto estava... Virgil pegou a carta sob efeito de várias substâncias. Eu acho que foi isso aqui, mano. Fábio despedaçou os sentimentos de Kurt. Crime passional, um predador sexual. Pera aí.
I know I can handle the news.
Any progress with the case, Mr. Holmes?
Cara, tá faltando alguma coisa.
This letter proves nothing. Fabio wrote it to Mr. Manchios. It's time to free Mr. Vogel.
Do you really think I'm that naive? I need proof, not words from his friend.
Very well. Mr. Pinchetti told me that Mr. Manchios was lavishing Fabio with expensive and eccentric gifts. The letter mentions rich rewards and attempts to buy Fabio with them. It was written to Mr. Manchios. Who else was showering Fabio with luxuries to buy him? It doesn't fit Mr. Vogel's character.
Look here. We had a deal. Give me the murderer and then take your friend with you. I won't budge otherwise.
Well, fine, but you're just wasting time.
Continue our investigation while I look for the papers.
I know I can handle the news. 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 I know I can handle the news.
I appreciate your cooperation, Mr. Manchios. Wait just a moment, I have something to check.
Ah, eu vou chutar que foi ela, cara. Vou acusar ela. Faz mais sentido ser ela.
Matista, you killed Fabio during the ritual.
What? No! I could never.
Você tentou ter o Fábio de volta.
Fabio was a rising star. Cordona already knew of him, and you were not as popular. Your duo was coming to an end. He would have left you, and you were afraid of that. Since you believe in your gift, you thought you could revive him after death. And that time, he would have stayed with you.
That is not true. I was afraid of him leaving me, but I would never have hurt him.
You were there when Fabio was killed. He fought for his life and inflicted those bruises on your body, but you knocked him out eventually.
I was with the guests all the time. Manchios ordered me.
You knocked out Fabio with a bottle, you locked the door and placed him on the altar. You cast spells and pushed a blade between his ribs. The blood from his wound was used to draw symbols across his body and the room itself. You wanted to use your gift to resurrect him, but he failed to wake up. So you cleaned yourself up and left the room, realizing the full scale of what you'd done.
That's just wrong. I didn't do it. You didn't see what happened.
Then tell me, what did happen?
I don't know. I wasn't there. You weren't either.
Você precisa de cuidar dos médicos.
I can see that life hasn't been kind to you. Since childhood, you have been used and abused. The guests at the Manchios mansion are not that different. And even if you think you are in control, such a life takes a heavy toll regardless. The only good thing you had in your life was Fabio. You were so frightened of losing him that you killed him. I believe your only chance for a normal life is to receive medical help. Psychiatrists will help you.
Others have always decided what my life should be. And you're no different, Mr. Holmes.
That is your only option, Matista. I'm afraid you can't choose.
I'd weep if I had any tears left at all.
I wish everything were different.
I'll remember this horror forever.
The air here is rather refreshing. I'd even recommend that some of my friends visit the place.
Beleza, acho que a gente tem que falar com o guarda lá agora, né?
It was Matista, Fabio's friend. All the evidence points to her. It is sadly the result of her traumatic past. She requires medical help. There can be no good in executing a person who has such an illness.
She doesn't look sick to me.
That's why the professionals should handle it.
I suppose you're right. It's still good enough for my promotion. As for my part, not everything was in place. Perhaps some documents were transferred somewhere else, but I couldn't find a trace of them. Then I remembered. The discarded document drawers where we put the lost papers or the badly labelled ones. Including the crime scene report of Violet Holmes's case. Everything I've found is on the desk here. Take it.
Your persistence has saved me.
Yeah, well, we had a deal after all. Your friend is free then. You can leave.
Good luck, Constable.
Relatório número 0743. Os oficiais chegaram e encontraram a falecida identificada como senhorita Violet Holmes, deitada no jardim da mansão Stanwood. A inspeção visual mostrou que a vítima estava completamente encharcada e uma profunda incisão vertical na garganta, de 5 centímetros de comprimento. Seu rosto estava inchado e coberto de manchas vermelhas. Causa provável de morte, estrangulamento, aguardando confirmação do médico legista. O principal suspeito, Otto Rich, foi preso no local. O corpo foi levado para a autópsia.
Garden. There's a garden behind our manor. How could I forget? That's where it all happened, where it all went wrong.
Sherry, it looks like you've almost found what you wanted.
Tem mais ninguém aqui? Nem o Virgil. Ah, o mordomo ainda tá.
I'll remember this horror forever.
Bem, galera, vou ficar com essa gameplay por aqui. Espero que vocês tenham curtido. Provavelmente o último capítulo é o seguinte. E a gente se vê nele, beleza? Um grande abraço, até mais. Fui!